Cultivating mature positivity.
CMPRadio.net.
Amgo's Production.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. Behind the scene, my tears fall down. So many things have happened. The years go by and the friends you have for no more. Jealousy and envy. Wow, because you keep on grinding. People wanna see you fail, and although you fall, just move on. Crabs in a barrel, want what you have, try to pull you down. Don't wanna work, just wanna take. They also hate on me. The more you hate, I'll get lifted. Hate on me. The more you hate, I'll get lifted. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. People come, people go. Where they at, I don't know. Liabilities, your creativity, assets I need.
I got it. Check.
They give
check,
energy,
check.
but every now and then.
Hey.
The ones you think are real turn out to be niggas.
Yo, this is one of my absolute favorite songs in the world. I love it. Hate on me. The more you hate, I will get lifted. You gotta love that. You gotta love it. So today, what I want to talk to y'all about is the fact that the Derek Chauvin trial had come to an end, not all the way to an end, but to an end. He was found guilty on all charges. Now, we all think to ourselves like, yeah, that's a great thing. And he, is guilty and all of these other things, whatever you want to say about it. But to me personally, I feel like it's kind of crazy. It's one of them things where the world was watching. And to me personally, there's been several incidents like this year alone. There were several incidents after he passed, but I think that Derek Chauvin is like the sacrificial lamb, if you will. He is like gasoline. And if they didn't treat it properly, like he would burn down the forest, he would burn down the world. The decision that they would make with him, it definitely would have hurt in a whole lot of ways, especially with a new president walking in the door, knowing everyone is looking at this. I mean, it had to go that way. It was kind of like when they kind of did Rodney King wrong and, the world went crazy and then they had to make it right. And so people learn from situations like that. It's like it's going to be a lot of people happy. More power to him. May he rest in peace. That his killer is behind bars. His killer will be behind bars. His bail was revoked. All that jazz. They put the cuffs on and took him away. But deep down inside, I'm like, imagine how many people still have not and will not ever see justice. Imagine what that looks like. The world was watching. Imagine how many times people have passed and nobody heard their cries. And yeah, technology, we got technology, we can show up more often, but I don't think it's so much that so many murders get captured on film. I don't really think that's what it is, because we share it like wildfire. We'll say things about it and everything else, but that's it. That's it. And it can be any one of us when it's all said and done. And when I say it can be any one of us, I mean black, white, green, red. I mean, there was a white gentleman who was in mental health distress, and he called the police. I can't recall what his name is, and I keep meaning to look it up, but he wound up losing his life because they knelt on him with his face in the dirt, and he died. He literally died. The only difference with all of this is with George Floyd, we watched for 8 minutes and 46 seconds as he literally slipped away. The world heard him calling out for his mother, and he slipped away. Now, of course, all of these conspiracy theories was draped up around it, and people say what they say. Oh, yeah, he did drugs, and he this, and he that. You know, the normal culprits when people try to justify why someone is dead or just try to make their death not a big deal. Now, once again, this conversation, it's not to fan flames. It's not to say all white people are bad. It's not to say all police is bad. It's not a racist conversation. It's just a real conversation. See, every life is important to the person that's living it. To the people that life touch, that life is important. The only people that is not really important to is the people who not living it, the people who that life doesn't belong to, the people who that life is not responsible for. It's sad. We live in a society where we don't really value life, and we're so desensitized to so many things. I mean, death is like a daily occurrence, to the point where it almost seems like the only time that is really wrong is when the cops do it, you know? Or the only time people really want to make a big deal out of it. I don't get it. I think that, I could have talked about a lot of things today, but I think this is just something that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to think about. Once again, imagine how many people, look it up yourself, how many people since George Floyd's death, how many unarmed African-American males, how many females, how many children have been killed by police unarmed? And I don't even want to just say African-American males. It was just a Latino 13-year-old that just got killed by a cop. And clearly you could see his hands was up. He didn't have nothing in it. I mean, he had a gun to start out with. It wasn't necessarily his gun. It was the older guy he was with. The older guy got arrested. The 13-year-old ran. He ran through this alley. He tossed the gun. And when the cop told him to turn around and he had his hands up, told him to put his hands up, and he said, drop it, and he dumped in him and took his life. I sit back and think to myself, is it a celebration because one man is going to jail with the possibility of 75 years and a year probation? Is that a victory really when it's so many people still getting killed? And it's sad because if it's not like front page, you know, it's almost like it happens and then go away. It had me looking at life so differently in a sense. It had me almost afraid. When I die, I don't want to just be, you know, a rest in peace tag to a picture. When I die, I don't know. I guess we all try to leave a mark or our legacy so that we know that our lives meant something. I want to mean something more than just to the people whose lives that I touch. And as I was saying to you all earlier, think about it. Just think about this. The only reason that George Floyd's killer got convicted on all them charges, it was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm. America was on fire. They was burning shit down and protesting and everything. And then you had a president that was spitting and spewing the rhetoric he was spitting and spewing. And then finally, that emboldened like racist organizations to feel so emboldened to take over capitals and everything. I mean, this shit almost looked like a movie. It didn't even look real. Didn't even look real. We watched the election and how close the election was. And in a lot of our minds, we thought, yo, this is a slam dunk. This dude is getting out of office. But come election night, it wasn't so much of a slam dunk anymore. We was sitting and watching and waiting because we really didn't know. And let me tell you something. We should all be thankful to Donald Trump for one thing. If nothing else, just this one thing. That he truly showed us what this country is, what the climate of the country is. I warn you all. I warn you all. The only reason this has gone the way that it's gone is because it was a high profile case, because it was the wick that the match that lit the wick. That's the reason why. So, yeah, Derek Chauvin gets to be the token. He gets to be the sacrificial lamb. But we so quickly forget that so many people are still dying. So let me tell you something. If every day one house in your neighborhood caught fire and the fire department never came and that house burned to the ground, and then all of a sudden somebody taped it and everybody got tired and everybody started fighting and looting and burning stuff down. And so all over this one house getting burned down, because let's say it was a kid inside and the kid died. And now all of a sudden, the fire department shows up and they put out the fire and everything. Does that mean that fires aren't going to be set anymore, that they're not going to be burned? Does that mean that the response time won't be the same that it's been? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that at all. Because no matter how much anybody wants to say justice has been served today, I still see dead people. I still see dead people. And don't get me wrong, there'll be somebody out there pontificating in their pajamas, sitting there looking at this screen, thinking to themselves, see, niggas ain't never happy. That's what the thought process would be. Oh, he got locked up. But see, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than one man's death. It's bigger than one man getting convicted of killing him. One man who we have entrusted to protect our lives. It's way bigger than that. But who sees the big picture? That's the question. Who sees the big picture? Because let me tell you what, I keep hearing stories of death. There's still people getting away with it. They'll still be bashing people's name. I've never seen a place where the victim gets victimized again after death. Let me tell you something. If a woman gets raped, there is a big effort made so that she does not become a victim again. Because sometimes they'll take her into court and they'll try and paint her as a whore. They're trying to paint her as some promiscuous woman that was walking around and she wanted this. How wrong is that? So that's what we do for the living, to protect our living. They try to put things in place so that that won't happen. But who does it for the dead? I don't care what you did in your life. Do you deserve to die? Does it make it okay that somebody's killed you? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like, I'm not talking like it was some masterminded evil genius that killed millions of people. And even then, if he was a mastermind evil genius that killed millions of people, isn't death a little bit too easy? Isn't that like the easiest way out of any situation? Because you don't have to deal with those consequences. And most people could say, oh, well, there's a hell and they're going to have to walk in hell and they're going to have to deal with this and deal with that. But you don't know. Why? Because you're still living. We only know what we've been told. And we have to have faith. We have to have faith that things get better. We have to have faith that this is all going to work out. And let me tell you something. We as a community has been clinging on to hope and faith for so freaking long. For so long. We've been taught to do that. Even when something bad happened, pray on it. All across Facebook, pray on it. Where are my prayer warriors? Where is this? Where's that? But even in the Bible itself, it says faith without works is dead. So you got to pray, yes. But you got to do something too. See, God's not a magician. He not a genie. That's not going to happen. It's not how this works. It's not how any of this works. We can't just care that one man has gotten justice. And even when we think about the context of what that justice meant to people all around, to the president, what did that justice mean to the president? Could the president could he have afforded for that man to walk free? Knowing what this country looked like, could he have afforded that? Because I'm going to say no. And if nobody says no, I'm going to say no. He could not have afforded that. There would have been some consequences and repercussions if that man had walked free. Now, I'm not saying that would have been me. I'm not even saying it would have been you. You might not have been out there. You might not have been do the right thing. They killed Radio Raheem. Let's go throw this trash can through the window of the pizza shop. You ain't going to do all that. That's not what you're going to do. But I'm sure people somewhere would have been raising some type of hell. But then it begs the question, should we be raising hell every time this happens until this no longer happens again? Should we be raising hell until this whole thing is no longer acceptable? I always have to ask, how many mothers have to bury their children? How many fathers have to bury their children? How many friends do you have to lose? How many family members do you have to lose? Why does it always have to be this way? And is it this way because we're accepting it? Are we complacent in what this all is anymore? Are we? Because let me tell you, I don't know about none of y'all. But I'll say it once, I'll say it 50 million times. Yes, I am concerned when I get pulled over. Yes, I do be worried. See, back in the day, this shit wasn't real for me. Back in the day when I was younger, when I first started driving, let me tell you something. I thought this shit happened to drug dealers and gangbangers and stuff. I thought these were the people that had the run-ins with the cops that might wind up in death. And I learned all of that from TV. It happens to the bad guys. But then one day you grow up and the veil is lifted. And you see, it doesn't just happen to the bad guys. Sometimes it happened to the black guys. Sometimes it happened to the black women. Sometimes it happened to black babies. And then another veil get lifted and you find, man, this happens to white folks too. People that are in downtrodden areas. People who are considered to be trash. People who it seems as though America has forgotten, or at least don't want to admit that they know anything about. I don't know. At what point in time as people, as human beings, do we decide that every life matters? Not that we're just saying it or putting it on our profile pictures or wearing masks that say it. When do we start acting like it? When do we take everything fucking personal? That's what I want to know. When we start taking everything personal, when do we really get upset that these things are happening? And I'm not just saying upset like, oh man, this is fucked up, this is happening again. That's that complacent complainer shit. I'm talking about, when do we get upset to the point that anytime this happens, we on top of it? Any life that is lost, there is a movement behind it, and a consistent movement, not one that just dies out. Let me tell you something. If you're lost in the woods, let's say 10 people get lost in the woods, and they all take their turn screaming out, help. They all take turns doing it. You got a chance that maybe somebody's pitch will be loud enough. Maybe it'll cut through the wilderness, through the trees, and resonate in the air in a way that it may be heard, just maybe. But imagine if all 10 of them people got together and they screamed it together in unison. Man, it'll make the birds fly. There's always strength in numbers. It's always strength when we decide to stand up together, but we're so used to being herded. We don't realize that we're being herded. We're being herded into a thought process that tells us that we're independent. We're individuals. We're all individuals. We alone in this shit. I see people yelling it all day, every day. I hear it in the music. She got her own car. She paid her own bills. I hear so much independence that we are fooled into believing that we don't need each other. Why is it that every once in a while, there are certain people that die that we all pay attention to, and then there's certain people that die that we pay attention to and we may talk about, but it's not really a big deal? What about the little boy playing in the park, Tate Mayer? A little boy playing in a park. And yes, there's a lot of attention that's put towards it or whatnot. But is it like this whole Derek Chauvin thing, George Floyd thing? Is it anything like that shit? It's not even Rodney King numbers, you know what I mean? The whole time, we have to realize that every life is important. And anytime anything like this happens, we all need to stand up. We all need to stand up together. You got what I'm saying? My sister just was found dead at GWHCF. She was there for 3 days and wasn't even supposed to be there for one and perfect health. Before getting there, she has 5 children left behind, and the jail ain't giving no info. Can we go protest that shit ASAP? Well, number one, Antoine, I'm very sorry to hear that this George W. Hill, that's the prison out in Glen Mills. I think it's located in Glen Mills. Man, that fucking hurt my heart, bro. And see, this is literally what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, how in the hell does somebody just die Like, we do need to stand up and do something about that. It's a lot of people that die behind bars, bro. Let me tell you something. You got me so just fucked up right now. I'm trying to process that, man. I'm trying to process that. Once again, what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, if Antoine's sister don't get justice, is there really any justice? Is there really any justice in what happened today? Is there really any justice in what happened today? And Antoine, I do believe that we need to organize. I do believe that we need to say something. We need to do something. Now, quite personally, I'll never be the one to light a freaking tiki torch and walk out somewhere. But protesting, I definitely believe, brings attention and shines light and brings answers. And you know what? The village, we need to be a village taking care of our children. And I don't care if you know his sister or not. That shit don't matter, because one day it can be your sister. One day it can be your son. One day it can be your brother. One day it can be your uncle. One day it can be your cousin. One day it can be your mother. It can be your aunt. It can be your friend. It could be your significant other. Let me tell you something. There is no guarantees, and there is no protection. There's no guarantee that a camera's going to be rolling. But maybe in the jails, we should be saying there should be cameras in cells. There should be cameras on the main floor. Maybe we should be saying there is no space that should not be seen. Shit, I just read an article not too long ago about a guy getting released from jail. And when he got released from jail, outside of the jail, he was waiting on his ride, and he had to turn around and come back in. And the people who killed him actually drove up into the jail's space to kill him. And they got away with it. But then it came a thing of, well, hey, somebody had to get paid, because you don't just get to be able to ride up in there. Like, this shit just, and in order for, like, the police wasn't even there in a timely manner to even catch anybody. And all those people that's supposed to be trained don't know shit. Let me tell you something. People don't, well, once again, it becomes a situation where we have to stop conducting business as usual. Just shoot me a message when your show done. Thanks for the condolences. Not a problem, bro. Not a problem. Not a problem. I definitely think we gotta shine a light on that. How many people know people? Let me tell you something. So I got a big family. And it's no secret, most of the people around this area knows that a lot of people in my family, you know, they sold drugs or whatever. And I remember, like, one of my brothers was telling me a story about how the cops had chased him, and they chased him into an area where a little bit of construction was being done. And he said they whooped his ass, hit him in the head with these, like, the little dirt clumps and stuff like that be in the dirt piles and everything. Said they fucked him up. They robbed him, and they let him go. And the sad part about everything, to my brother, it was a good night, because he didn't have to do any time. I mean, where do we start drawing the line between good nights and bad nights? When do we stop saying, well, at least it wasn't this? Let me tell you something. If you constantly give an inch, pretty soon you're left with nothing. Pretty soon you're literally left with nothing. let me tell you something. We got to do better. We got to do better. I'm not saying be upset because this one gentleman, you know, is facing up to 75 years in prison, and 1 year, I think it was, of probation. I'm just saying, John said, I want to see what the sentence is for Chauvin, then see the jail he is in before I call it justice. The verdict is just a start. A minimal sentence that can be ran concurrent can happen. Hopefully it doesn't. We will see. I totally agree with that, John. Ruben said there is no justice for anyone of color. I agree with that. What's going on, Major? Hey, Khadija. Cherry said, on the day that Chauvin is found guilty, cops shot and killed a 15-year-old in Ohio. You know, this is the whole thing. Number one, just like most people don't understand how our government works, a lot of people don't understand how the prison system works. Now, people who are in and out of prison typically understands, or if they have friends and family that are, they may understand how everything works. But, you know, to what John said, you know, the verdict is out. So the verdict says guilty. So I think in 8 weeks or whatnot, he'll go to sentencing, you know. So then you really find out like what it is. You really find out what it is after that point. And for all we know, it can be a slap on the wrist. I'm going to tell y'all like this, though. Ruben said, don't believe it, bro. They're going to use the actions of Maxine Waters to overturn the trial. Wow. I got to look into that, Ruben. You got to educate me on that a little bit. The way I look at it is like this. I really feel that they can't I think they can't let him not get some significant time. I think they can't. I think that, look, Minnesota hot. I think if anything, it'll get a little crazy. It might get a lot crazy. I don't think they could just let that dude walk. I don't think they're just going to say, Derek, you know, you getting 2 years and this long probation. But I'm with you on wanting to see what that damn prison look like, because it might be a country club. It might be somewhere special. But I believe even if you take a job as a cop and you turn into a criminal, you need to be put where criminals are put. You need to be put in the worst spaces. You got what I'm saying? And it'd be different if we didn't sit and watch this man kill somebody. It'd be different. And then somebody explained to me why him having some porn out. Why was that a bad thing? Why was him having a couple of drug charges? Why would they think that all of this would lessen the fact that the man lived a life, that he was a living, breathing human being? That he got in trouble a couple of times. They was talking about check fraud or something. You know, it was a minute ago, and I don't remember everything that was on there. But why was any of these things even relevant? But what they're trying to do is soften. They're trying to soften the blow of what actually happened and make people think he deserved to die. But everything this man did only really affected himself. That's it. And so what if he did some porn? Shit, you name me, I'll tell you some women that would probably want to do porn. Shit, when I was younger, if I would have had the opportunity, I'd have probably did it. You know what I mean? Who would you hurt? Who gets hurt in all of that? And just because he may have engaged in that, even if he engaged in drugs, man, there's plenty of people that get high that don't hurt nobody. That don't hurt nobody. You got what I'm saying? So does that make them less of a person? Does it make their life mean anything less? Man, Cherry said that's what his lawyer is going for, the minimum of 40 years. Well, it doesn't matter what he's going for. What's going to really matter is what he get. Ruben said they said nothing about where that bill came from. Not at all. And they probably never will. You know what I mean? It's amazing. But just like I said, we have to hold people accountable. And the only true way that we can hold people accountable is when we stand together. Man, it can't be two people in the rain with a poncho talking about, like, it's kind of like I go out in front of Crozier Hospital, and you'll always see the minimum of one older Caucasian gentleman. Sometimes it might be two people. I've even seen about 3 or 4 at one given time, but not often. But they'll be walking around with the anti-abortion posters, right? So my question is, does it matter? Like this one guy out there with this sign, and sometimes he'll bring a lawn chair and an umbrella, and he'll sit out there with his little anti-abortion sign, and they'll have a picture of like an embryo or something like that, you know, and you driving down past the hospital and you look over at it, but pretty soon he becomes like a fixture, like a telephone pole or a fucking mailbox. After a while, does it really even matter that he's there? Is his message really going anywhere or getting anywhere? Does anybody care? But let me tell you what, if that street in front of that hospital was blocked off all the time, if it was thousands of people in those streets, guess what? It won't stop abortion, but it'll probably stop abortion at that hospital. They'll probably say, you know what? It's not worth the trouble anymore. You got what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying abortion is right or wrong, is up, down, left, or right. But what I am saying is, if it wasn't just one man out there with a sign, and yes, that's a start. But in battles like that, you need the village behind you, man. You need a nation behind you sometimes. You do. You do. I'm never going to tell somebody that they should not fight for what they believe in. But a lot of times, man, some battles are like futile. It's like a man trying to fight a tank with his fists. And you could punch it as much as you want, but it's just going to run you down eventually. It's still going to do what it's supposed to do. Sometimes you need much more. And that's just the way that it works. And that's the way that it works for our community. Shit, half of us don't even get out and vote. You know, it was just explained to me. Now I fancy myself on knowing, you know, quite a bit about politics, but something I didn't necessarily know that I was just taught through an interview. I think this interview was yesterday or the day before. It was Sunday. What I was taught was a lot of, like we got 35,000 people live in Chester, right? 35,000, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, give or take. Now, out of those 35,000 people, when it comes time to vote, especially when it comes time for city council and stuff like that, they was getting like 900 votes. 900 people in a community of 35,000. And then a brother said, politicians and that, they don't really stop through here like that because they're looking like, oh, well, those votes, it ain't even worth it. It's just 900 people. And it reminds me of that one man sitting in front of Crozier with his little abortion sign. It reminds me of how many families lose children or lose loved ones to wrongdoings. And eventually they wind up being that man sitting outside the hospital with an abortion sign. It's not enough. Everybody says, say their names, say their names, say their names. How about we do a little bit more than say their names? How about we do vote? Most people don't think it matters. Well, how about one time we all try to do it and see what happens? And then we have some empirical evidence where we can say, you know what? Every single person in this city that was eligible to vote voted, and nothing happened. Then let me tell you, I will believe my vote won't count because we all voted. But the numbers ain't matching up. It's just literally not matching up. Ruben said his employer, hold on, They said nothing about where that bill came from. His employer was in cahoots with the cartel and under investigation for counterfeiting. Chauvin was employed by them as well. Floyd's death looked more like a message. Wow. Wow. Oh, John said, I missed some. My minimum of 40 years for what? Yeah, he had a multitude of charges against him, but they said that he was convicted of all counts, you know, of all charges and all. So I don't know. I we'll see what it is. We'll definitely see what it is. But yeah, a lot came out about them. They even said that they both bounced at a bar and that Chauvin already had issues with Floyd or whatnot. But you know, those are all the semantics of things. It doesn't, at the end of the day, what really matters, because let me tell you something, I beef with people all the damn time. Well, when I was younger, I don't really do it now. But when it's all said and done, what really matters is what was caught on tape. And what was caught on tape is kind of like, you can't argue that. You can't argue it at all. And what I'm saying is, if for whatever reason they choose to come back, so guilty is one thing, but if they chose to come back and say, all right, he getting 3 years probation, or he getting time served and this much probation or whatever, you know, this shit will fall apart. I'm sorry. I don't see it going any other way. I'm not saying that you know, Pennsylvania is going to rise up and shake this country to its foundation. But I'm sure a pocket of people is going to get together and going to flip out, probably out there where they live at. But the whole thing, once again, is we need to adopt that village mentality across the nation. We do. We do need to come to each other's aid. Man, let me tell you something. Nobody wants to lose their freedom, and even more so, nobody wants to lose their life. But how do we let people get away with this? And I guess more importantly, how do we come together as a community to make sure it doesn't happen again? What steps do we take? And I don't have all the answers. Man, I'm probably not even the right person to put in charge. You know what I mean? I might be best suited for giving out water to people. I don't freaking know. But what I do know is that we have to figure out, how do we at least come together and be consistent with coming together to make a change, because nobody going to give us anything. Ruben said, we are the only race in this country where you can lose your life and still end up on trial. You get a bell for that, brother, man. I swear to God, this is what I keep saying. I don't understand how they victimize the person that dies, but in a way I do, because it's a way to continue to desensitize people from people dying, from somebody losing their life, from somebody doing something wrong. And then America has this mentality that, oh, those are the boys in blue. They're the right ones. They're the ones that come in and make stuff right. And it's just not the case. Nothing is ever that simple. Let me tell you something. You can have good policemen and bad policemen. But the moment a bad policeman does something that a good policeman is aware of, and they not there beefing on the scene, and you going along with this shit, or you think because you don't do anything that somehow you're exonerated from wrongdoing? No. You're just as guilty. You're no longer a good cop. You're no longer a good person. You're no longer a decent human being. If you stand by and just watch something wrong happens, then you're wrong too. I don't know. Let me see. Ooh. John said, it can be concurrent. We can't always add up all the counts of minimum, people are cops and who've been in trouble know this, will fall apart. Yes, collectively. So we need, hold on, that jumped on me. So we need to calm down right now, far from over. Yes, I totally agree with that. Where I can read about this actual facts is their nature collectively. White America collectively is just that. Yeah, let me tell you something. But this is why I say we need to change our nature. And I don't even want to say it's our nature. We have been nurtured to be the way we are when it comes down to our lives, when it comes down to the lives of our peers, when it comes down to our communities. We have been nurtured to be the way that we are. We have. And I think that it's been happening so long. And this is why I think it's so acceptable for everybody to just be like, well, just pray on it. Just pray on it. And this, that, and the third. This is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work. But if in the Bible it say, faith without works is dead, then, I mean, that's God saying. It depends on what you believe in as well. But that's definitely God saying, don't just drop to your knees and pray to me. Do something. Do something. You got what I'm saying? If God himself is saying do something, then you're going to tell me prayer is enough? Everybody always saying, oh, just give it up to God. Give it up to God. And God is saying, hey, you can believe in me, but you better be doing something. It's a conflict. It's a conflict. There's a conflict. Like who's right? Your interpretation of what's being said or what's actually being said? And I'm not trying to take this down a religious road, but I'm just trying to tell everybody you just can't sit back praying, thinking that the world is going to change because you prayed. And it's okay to have faith and it's okay to pray. But you got to do something. You have to do something behind it. And what's to say right now, what's to say that God ain't waiting to see what you're going to do? What's to say that the reason why this happens over and over again, maybe it's just truly a test. Maybe it's a test for us all as individuals to see what you're going to do. What's going to make this any different? Or are we going to watch somebody bump their head? We see them bump their head. We know it hurts because of what we see, but we still going to go bump ours anyway. And then our children will bump theirs and their children will bump theirs. It's like the running of the lemmings. They all run in and fall off a cliff, one following behind the other. We'll be quick to follow each other in trends and everything else, but we're never quick to follow each other in movements of sustenance and movements of substance. We're never quick to follow each other when it matters, only when it's trendy. Only when it's trendy. Oh, you got them throwback Jordans? I'm going to get them throwback Jordans. Oh, everybody going down here today. Got to think about that. Literally have to think about that. Let's see. John said, not all whites, but they know about themselves. They admit it. Nurtured, reared, I agree. Thank you very much. And John also said, you're on it. Can't just pray. We are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And when it comes, we dismiss it. So read what God says he does when you turn it down. Read it. And understand this. Understand this as well. At the end of the day, the reason why so many people acted appalled when things were being burned and everything else, because there are so many Americans that's used to us being pacified. I actually had some of my Caucasian friends say to me, like, well, why don't they just march peacefully like Martin Luther King did, and like this and like that, and like, well, you see what Martin Luther King's peaceful protest got him. So can you say that's the right way when they wasn't burning anything down and he still get killed? Can you say it's the right way when everybody was saying we shall overcome and they was still getting hosed and bit by dogs and billy clubbed and murdered and raped and houses were being burned down? So let me get this straight. That's the kind of protest that's supposed to happen. And once again, I don't condone burning down anything, but I know a lot of people who do. But I personally will not be lighting torches to nothing because I think it makes no sense. But I understand how people can be in a space of fuck it all. I watch it all fucking burn. I've seen people say, if I can't fucking have it, nobody can. That's what it boils down to. Shit, people do that with people too. Shit, if I can't have you, nobody can. They fuck around and kill somebody. You be like, what the fuck just happened? Everybody's like, I can't believe it. But it's turning into just what human nature is anymore. You can't keep, and especially nowadays, man, these cats is new breeds out here. Nobody believes in holding hands and walking and peacefully protesting about stuff. Well, some people do, but it's a lot of people who don't. And even when a lot of those peaceful protests was actually being set up to turn into violent protests. Because let me tell you something, when everybody's already on edge, man, it takes one brick, one person to throw one thing, and you don't even know who in the crowd doing it. But some of these people have been pointed out. Some of these people was caught on camera. And to me personally, it just proved. It's like if you run into a crowded room and you yell fire, people gonna react. They're not looking for the flames. They're not looking for the smoke. They just don't want to be burned alive. So you get a bunch of angry people together, man, it's a powder keg. It's ready to go off. Man, sometimes it just takes one thing. I've seen when I was younger, the perfect example of that, when I was younger, it could be two people that's arguing. They could be ready to fight. They'll be up in each other's face, walking in a circle, leaning shoulders against each other. You hit me first. You hit me first. You hit me first. Or then you'll just see somebody like push one into the other. Boom, fight. All it took was one person to light the wick. That's it. That is it. Hold on. Let me see. John said, you're on it. Just said that. What does he say? For the Bible readers, he rejects you, it says. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. Thank you very much, John. If you're not doing what you need to do, praying is not enough. But so many people will have us. I don't know why we were bred into this lamb mentality, being led to the slaughter. Yeah, you praying and you marching and you walk into the slaughter because these people over here are ready to hurt you. And they know you're not going to try to hurt them. You're veal. You're cutlet. You're ready to be freaking butchered and laid on a plate. You know what I mean? That's why I said, that this world, man, everything is backwards. And it's because so many people have been pacified for so many years and so long we've been told that this is the right way to do. Maybe that's why it's been so many years and we still don't see justice. Because maybe now, and even though so many things are being projected in the most negative way, maybe that's what causes balance. See, because for every system, if you take something out, you got to put something in of equal or greater value. You got what I'm saying? And that's what I believe that this whole Chauvin trial is, putting something in of equal or greater value. Okay, this is a high profile case. So many emotions was attached to it. This dude got to go to jail. We can't make the white folks mad. And I'm not saying this is all white folks, because some white folks is definitely like, yeah, he murdered that dude. He murdered that dude. They gonna call it what it is, but everybody won't. Some people think, oh, well, he did drugs. He did porn. You know, he wrote some bad checks. He did some time. That's enough, when their own child probably is in jail right now for doing the same damn thing. You got what I'm saying? It's so weird. John said, through his permissive will or active, more pain comes to wake us up. We repeat the same thing over and over, as in how we handle things. And we fall for the same politics, technology. Dude, I 100% agree with you. It's the same shit, just in a different bag. That's it. You know, let me tell you something. If you shit in a bag and you bring it to somebody and they say, man, that shit in the bag. And let's say it's an Aldi's bag, and you turn around and you put it in the ShopRite bag, guess what? It's still shit. When I was in the military, they used to say you can put a tuxedo on a turd and it's still a turd. It's just in a tuxedo. That's it. You know, you can't polish a turd because you're just going to make a bigger mess. It's just the way it goes, you know? And a lot of times, because the same thing has been given to us over and over again, and we've accepted the same thing over and over again in different formats, you know what I mean? The turd is really not shining. It's just smearing everywhere and making a bigger mess. I know that's probably kind of disgusting, but it is what it is. Ruben said, I read the information that I posted. Now I'm going to have to dig for it because it seems to have disappeared from the net. Bro, let me tell you something. I had a couple situations like that where some of my shit was like, I'm like, whoa, what the hell? You know what I mean? And even when I got into that whole thing of fact checkers, and I was trying to figure out, okay, well, who are these fact checkers? And then Facebook said the fact checkers are third-party people. And then I go on my page and I go into my friends and I put into my friend list fact checkers, and all these fact checkers pop up that's supposed to be my friends, when in reality, I never saw that shit before. I never even knew they were there, but there they are. And maybe we got to create a different platform that doesn't go by Facebook rules, but they say he that you give your money to, you give your power to. And maybe that's why Facebook can do what they do, because we've made Facebook irreplaceable for most people. But then I guess TikTok coming along is showing Facebook that, hey, but I think TikTok got sold. I know it probably sounds like I'm going off on a tangent, but it all in the grand scheme of things means something, because if Facebook turned around and bought TikTok, but it's something I would have to check, and that was just random conversation on the fly. So tonight, because I didn't have a guest, I was only doing an hour, and I'm going to stick to that because I really don't want to beat a dead horse. You know, you best believe in 8 weeks when the word come down, we're going to sit down and talk about this. Maybe I'll talk to P about doing something special on this, and we can really dig deep into some information, and we could exchange ideas on what's going on here, how it could pan out. You know, for the most part, I think that we all have an idea on how this is going to go. What I'm saying is we definitely need to, we got to get a little deeper on some shit. We got to start pulling together. We got to start working together. We got to start looking out for each other. Antoine, my prayers truly go out to you, bro. My prayers truly go out to you. I need to know more information on that situation. I would love to know more information on that situation. I would love to shine a light on it. You know what I mean? I would like to get people involved in it or looking at it. I would love to do figure out what I can personally do to help contribute to helping getting some people together. But once again, I will be looking at this. I'm going to go to your page I will talk to you to try to figure out what's going on, because I don't understand how she was found dead. And it even blows my mind even farther that she wasn't even supposed to be there. So I need to know more about that. What I'm going to tell y'all is this. So I try to give final thoughts at the end of every show, but I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted by this whole ordeal, this trial, just what it looks like to me. And it looks like to me, well, okay, here goes a sacrificial lamb. And no, he might not get maximum time, whatever. But these are all things we don't know because we're not there yet. We're just not there yet. Doesn't mean we won't be there, but we're not there yet. I wanted to let everybody know on April the 28th at 517 Avenue of the States, Dream Event Space. We are doing a live taping that will be broadcasted, of course, on CMP Radio, but it's going to be like later on after. But I'm trying to get a live studio audience to come in. CMP will be down there taping it and everything, and we are doing a show. So we're going to have a vocalist there. John Carr will be singing. The comedian for the evening will be Major. And I am looking still what poet I'm going to put on the bill, because I wanted to do music, comedy, and poetry. You know what I mean? So I'm doing this summer series for the whole summer. All of these events will be free for you to get into. You know what I mean? It's all for live taping, all especially and expressly for CMP Radio. So if you want to come down and be a part of our audience, do that. But you have to inbox me, Michael Storm Miller, on Facebook so I can reserve your seat. So remember, this isn't going to be this Wednesday. It's next Wednesday. Inbox me so I can reserve your seat, please. Always find a reason to laugh. It's way too much bullshit going on in this world not to. I love you. I'm going to be too fast on that. All right.
M Ghost Production.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. Behind me see my tears fall down.